What's going on, Workforce? Brian here, and we have finally a Final Fantasy XI news break after a long period of time. We've been waiting, anxiously hoping and praying for some news on Final Fantasy XI Mobile, and we have it in a way. Final Fantasy XI Mobile is still in development, and this is confirmed by Nexon's third quarter report. Now, here's where it gets exciting, and here's where, oh my gosh, I just am so happy right now. Final Fantasy XI is still in their pipeline, and it's actually been renamed to Final Fantasy XI R Squared. Now, we'll get into the R Squared here in a little bit, with a little bit of speculation tagged onto it, just for fun, just because that's all we have to go on. Anyway, so we still got a little bit of information to break down for you, right? So here is what we have known, here is what has been known, and if you're new, if you're seeing this video and you're like, what are you talking about, Brian? What is Final Fantasy XI Mobile, aka R2? And I'm here to break it down for you. So the last quote we actually have ties to Yoshi-P. Now, why is Yoshi-P talking about Final Fantasy XI Mobile, you ask? Great question. That's because he's actually in charge of Business Division 3. Division 3 runs Final Fantasy XI, Final Fantasy XIV, and whatever this new project that they are working on that we are tentatively calling Final Fantasy XVI for the time being. Now, this quote was actually taken from him back in 2017, so travel back in time with me for a little bit. It's been an adventure, guys. In an interview with Gamerscape, he's quoted as saying, "To update you on Final Fantasy XI Mobile, because we're in the same business division, I know exactly where we are. At the moment, we're fine-tuning the battle system, and when the time is right, we will be able to make another big announcement, an official one." So to tack on to this quote, earlier this spring, the Final Fantasy XI developers who are still actively supporting Final Fantasy XI for PC, they said they're going to actually be slowing down updates to the main game in order to work on something special for the 20th year anniversary, which would be 2022 Japan time. And it came out in 2023 US. We're going to think 2022 because it's closer on the calendar. So that's what I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to stick with that number. So we're a starved fan base, we're desperate for information, and this is what we have, plus several images that they've kind of trickled out about the mobile edition. But again, it's no longer mobile, it's R squared, or R2 in this case. This is really, really, really good news. Now, why is this good news? What could have possibly happened? Welcome to the speculation zone, everybody. So note that everything I'm about to tell you is conjecture, right? But it is a lot of moving pieces. So what do we know? Well, Final Fantasy XI Mobile was announced a long time ago, several years in fact. And since then, we've only seen glimmers of hope for this title. Now, personally, for me speaking, I hoped it was never going to be just mobile only. Then what happened? Well, Blizzard comes out with Diablo Immortal, mobile only, huge backlash. The other thing that's also happened in between the time they announced the Final Fantasy XI Mobile and now is that Fortnite comes out, kind of changes the game. Now, I'm not saying that 11 is going to be a battle royale by any stretch of the imagination. Stick with me here, though. It's on mobile, it's on console, it's on PC. It shows what can be done. And I saw that and I go, that changes the game. That changes the game for everything if developers are willing to listen. And again, ultimately we don't know, but if mobile has transitioned to R squared, meaning remastered, Final Fantasy XI Remastered, that I think will be a very good service for gamers as a whole. But just to also be clear, I do not connect the Final Fantasy XI R2 to the Fantasy 16 or whatever the new project that Yoshi-P has talked on. We've actually posted a video on that a couple days ago. I'll link to it in the description below if you're interested in it. The image looks gorgeous. They're always hiring. So here's where it might not be something to be hopeful for, right? Because obviously this is still Nexon. Nexon does these kind of games, these mobile games. That's kind of their wheelhouse. But my hope is that maybe Nexon is taking over the mobile aspect of the project, getting it to run on the phones so that people can engage with the game in that way, and then still allowing us to play on PC, console. Switch would be a really good choice, depending on the graphical style. If they just double down and just make this game look mind-blowingly beautiful, well then by all means, go nuts, Square. Spend I'll spend your theoretical dollars here on the graphics department for any reason. The game Final Fantasy XI itself was so gorgeous, especially for the time. Now, it's still built on the PS2 dev kits, and that's ultimately the biggest problem here. Time isn't on their side. They aren't making any more PS2 dev kits. And so this puts Square Enix in the decision seat. They either need to find a way to support Final Fantasy XI long term, whether that's a single player game, hopefully like kind of a story-driven version of it, or remaster it. Is there a market for it? Well, I think the success of WoW Classic says that yes, there is a market for these classical style games, but can they make it something special? We've seen fan creations of HD versions of the game and they look beautiful. We've also seen, just passionate fans go and make their own version of this game in the Unreal. Not obviously the full game, but doing various tests of the different zones and the enemies, and it looks gorgeous. Obviously, the fans are going to keep doing what they love, and the base and the game itself is so good. It brings back such A, nostalgia, B, good memories, C, amazing friends and relationships that have been built around this game that carried forward into games like Final Fantasy XIV and even beyond. So I think Square Enix really does have a decision to make here, and hopefully this R2 or R squared is the right one, and it's something that we can be excited about, that we can cheer for, and ultimately have to we'll have to wait and see when it comes down to it. So obviously, if you can't tell, I'm excited. I think the fact that they just dropped mobile from the title itself speaks volumes, but ultimately we're going to have to wait and see as it goes from there. But we do actually have a little bit of more Final Fantasy news here for you in our news break. So we've ended our speculation segment, and now we're actually getting into just a few news posts for you guys. Now, if you're not aware, the Return Home to Vanna deal and discount campaigns have kicked off Friday, November 8th. So pay attention to that. I'll include links to all of these posts in the description below if you want to be able to get the game for a discount or be able to come check out all the updates that have happened since perhaps the last time you've logged in. Keep in mind, this is an old launcher. This is the Play Online stuff, so it will take you a long time to update if you haven't been keeping yourself updated for no other reason than you might just want to happen to hop back into your old character. They also have the login campaign, which actually commences on November 11th. And finally, there are terminating some Play Online services. When originally somebody sent this to me, I was like, huh, they're killing Play Online? No, they're not killing it yet. Maybe it'd be great if they do. But essentially, the Play Online email address, sending and receiving emails, the distribution support for all Play Online friends list applications, and community site links are all being disabled due to security concerns, namely because it's very probably difficult to support this in 2019 and going into 2020, but it's good to see that they're making some changes there. So if you're still using your old Play Online email address, you might want to consider maybe signing up for Gmail or another free service at this time. So with that, I want to know what you guys are thinking, what you're hoping for. Is this good news? Is this bad news? Is this just, more waiting that we're going to inevitably look back at this day and hopefully say like, yep, we were right. We called it. Remastered is on its way. I'd love to know what you're thinking. Any thoughts, pro, con, or either way. Let me know in the comments below and let's have that conversation. But I'm going to sign off for Work to Game, guys. I hope you all have an amazing day and an amazing week, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Take care.